Hello, I'm Toycat, and I spend a lot of time procrastinating on Google Maps, and so there's a lot of things about the service the average person doesn't know, which I've picked up over time, and I figured I'd share them really briefly in this video. The first one is the fact that you can right-click anywhere on the map, and it will show you the coordinates for these places. This is the coordinates measured from the middle of the world, and that's obviously a relative thing, but this shows you that this is in Scotland, 56 degrees north, and -4 degrees to the west. This is really handy because you can then click those coordinates, type them into Google Maps, or share them with a friend, and it will take you to exactly that same spot. This is really handy for showing someone an exact place on the map. Let's say you don't want to show someone just the Archray house over here, but you want to show someone just to the right of it. You can copy those coordinates and you can show exactly where that thing is, so someone will know exactly where you're pointing on a map with just one click and one set of coordinates, which they can do anywhere, including mobile. The second thing you might not have known that I use a lot on this channel, but every single time people are mind blown, is the fact that you can actually measure distances. So if you want to, for instance, I was in Vegas for a long time. How far away was Vegas from the UK? Click the London, click measure distance, then click the UK, and you can find out it was 5,200 miles away. That's so far. Look at the distance there. It's nuts. And the cooler thing is, if you go into the 3D view of Google Maps, which you can do by going to the bottom right here, clicking more, and then going to globe view, or if you don't believe in globes, you can go back to flat view. It will show you the actual fastest way across the planet, because the fact that the Earth is theoretically curved, have I seen any proof yet besides all the proof? I don't think so. But if you look at the world, you can see that actually the sphere means that all sorts of counterintuitive distances are possible, just like this one right here. Fun fact, the further you go, the more these get weird. Like the fastest way from India to Las Vegas would be flying over Russia, something you probably don't imagine when looking at a 2D globe. It's so counterintuitive, right? And the third thing that a lot of people don't know about Google Maps, but it's one of the best features, I remember when this first came out, I was mind blown by it, is you can go to basically any city on the planet. Let's go to my home city of London, in fact, and you can then go to satellite view. So this is where you see what satellites are actually seeing, and then if you get close enough, you'll find something pop up, which is this right here. So when we get close enough to something, you'll see that also, maybe we've got to be in globe view for this to actually technically work. So hit globe view and satellite view at the same time. It's really weird that you have to hit both of these views, but then you can hit this button just to the right of my head that is 3D, and you can see what the world actually looks like. So there's a lot of data science that's going into making this work, and in reality, it's pretty good estimations for big cities like London or New York. It works pretty well. You can see what the doghouse actually looks like in a pretty decent way, but then you can rotate it and see it from this side as well. Where are we, by the way? We're somewhere in southwest London, I think, right? Yeah, we're in southwest London, but let me show you why this is so handy. And in fact, this whole video is just me showing you fun things that I've noticed using this, because 3D view is amazing. It might not seem like it. It might seem like, well, this is 2D, this is 3D. What's the big difference? But it really does make a huge difference. So I was looking at a cocktail bar recently. It was they had a fun deal going on. It was called Buster Mantis, and they had a fun deal going on where it's £6 for all food and all drinks as long as it's on a Thursday. And being British, binge drinking on random weekdays is part of our culture, and so I wanted to find out how to get there. However, the usual features that people use, Street View and Google Maps itself, do not tell you how to find this Buster Mantis. If you look on the street, you'll see that there's a place called the Waiting Room over there, which, by the way, I think I've seen this place. It's it's a coffee shop in the day and it's a taco shop at night. I like the idea of mixing up your use. But then we've got the Strong Arm Steady, and we've got the Kids Love Inc. I don't understand what's going on there. And then we've got the station over here, which for some reason is blurred out. But you can see this is the train station, and below that train station, weirdly enough, there's just where I'd expect based on the map view, right? You'd expect right here, if Buster Mantis is there, for that to be a long alleyway to enter Buster Mantis. But apparently instead, this really shocked me. Apparently instead of that, what you actually find is St. Joseph's Catholic Primary School. And I was wondering, is this one of those things where they put up a sign like that so no one goes in there? Because they have got security cameras. It looks pretty legit, right? I mean, also there's a breakfast club going on there. But then I looked on the map, and you can see that this right here is St. Joseph's Catholic Primary School. And so I think the main entrance is on Crossfield Street over here, maybe. So you can see, okay, if I want to get into the cocktail place, don't go through the primary school. That's probably an arrestable offense. And so how exactly do you find your way into Buster Mantis? Well, if Street View doesn't... Okay, we're really messed up here. Well, if Street View doesn't help you, and you can look it's this weird building here, but that building is only accessible from the alleyway, clearly that comes out, that comes from the primary school right here. But if we go into 3D view, we get a slightly better sense of the area, and you can see that this weird hallway just goes right past the bar. Something I love about old cities is, when you're planning things from scratch, you go, oh, is it a good idea to put a cocktail bar directly next to the Catholic primary school? And someone would say, no, let's move that further away. But because the city is so damn old, there is just a bar right here. But how do you access it? There's no doors. There's this thing here, but there's no way that's the main entrance. And so you can logically assume, oh, so maybe based on the fact that there's doorways here, one of these is like a hallway, or maybe it's actually the bar actually goes all the way under here. You could picture that maybe it goes all the way down there, and one of these is an entrance for it. Obviously, there's no Google Maps for this corridor, so that's a theory we have to find out in person. Also, wait, there's a place called the Green Goose. Also, it's following me around on Google Maps. What is what is this? What is this bug? The Green Goose. So the Green Goose is a pub on the old fort. Where are we? Where is the Green Goose? It's all the way up here. Okay, so the Green Goose, for example, which it really wants me to show it off, so I'll give it some free promotion right now. It clearly needs it. The Green Goose is a bar that is also on a corner like this, and again, it's harder to get a feel for what a place really is without physically going there in person. Sometimes you can get some street view, like this is actually a good example of that, but sometimes you can't get that, and so seeing this 3D bird's eye view is genuinely better than being there in person. You can't see what the roof of the Green Goose looks like. Fun fact, in the UK, it's a pretty widely known rule that if you want to go to a decent place, like a kind of a decent place to hang out, drink, you go to a roof with you go to a place with one of these roofs. If you want to go to a place that's going to be rowdy and fun, you go to a flat roof pub. So you could look around at, say, the Victoria here, and you'd find out it's a flat roof pub. I mean, you could probably find that in real life too. Let's give it a peek, actually. Are those apartments above a pub? I think they might be, right? It's 3 stories. Anyway, but you might not be able to see as easily in real life, but you need to know the type of roof that a pub has. This is a real thing. You can trust me. British people in the comments will tell you that. But this is really cool because you can see all sorts of things using the 3D view. So, for example, if I look at this, if I want to show you something fun, look at this. This is a railway in southwest London. We're going back to the southwest, and you can see okay, this is Waterloo Station, the busiest station in the UK. And when you're inside of it, you just see 24 train platforms, and when you catch a train, you go down these things. But seeing it from above, you can realize just how wild the infrastructure has to be for it to be oh yeah, so all the trains go together. It splits up when it goes through a station. Okay, and then it goes like crazy. This is, I'm guessing, Clapham Junction, right? No, it's Battersea Park. Look how wild this is. The number of interchanges and crosses, because Waterloo is just the terminus station from people coming from all over the southwest, and so the train lines have to go out all over the southwest. And following these around in 3D is just so much easier than in 2D, where it looks like an abject mess you can't see much of. Maybe you disagree with that, but I also think one of the funny things, the reason that I think Google Maps is so powerful, and the reason I think mapping is so powerful, is because there's lots of things that are just hard to explain without spatial reasoning or without having to actually show something off. So someone in real life said to me recently, I was explaining how I on my driving test, I accidentally stopped in front of a red light, and I was like, oh yeah, and it was on a roundabout too. I was sure I failed, but I hadn't failed it, and so then they were like, but why was there a red light on a roundabout? And so explaining that can be really hard using just words well, it's like a busy roundabout junction, but instead I could just show you oh yeah, this is the typical motorway junction in the UK. It's for an A road, but we'll just go with it. It's like a big roundabout going over and above a motorway. So you'd queue up to leave the motorway, then eventually you'd go around. It has lights because there's so much traffic coming on and off it. And so, actually, this one might not have lights. I don't actually know. Well, this one, funnily enough, actually, wait, the lights wouldn't be there, would they? They'd be over here. This one, funnily enough, doesn't have lights. So I'll show you the one from where I learned to drive. This is Colchester. I recently did some driving there. Maybe you've seen something of that. And just have to point out, this place is the weirdest, by the way, look, rather than going into street view, see how it's easier to show you from above? Look, here is a roundabout, but the roundabout has lights on it. You can see the lights from up here. What's the deal with that, huh? You can also see cars from up here, but they look like ghost cars. This is at some point, all that will remain is a record of our civilization, and future people will just assume we all used to drive semi-transparent cars. But anyway, you can see, it's a roundabout, but they put lights on it, because at some point, a roundabout becomes too busy to operate without lights anymore. Even though it can take a lot more people than a usual intersection without lights, it's still kind of a problem. Actually, wait, while we're in culture, I need to point this out, because it did come up, and this is another one that's hard to explain, why does it exist? Sometimes you find places in the UK, there's a couple of them, but this is one of the examples of 5 roundabouts tied together. So this is, I think they're called magic roundabouts when you put a certain number of them together. There's obviously the famous one in Swindon, but this is a roundabout that has 5 roundabouts within it. And trying to explain that to someone is so hard, but if you just go here, you're like, oh yeah, so really it's just a roundabout, except it's made up of 5 miniature roundabouts, which basically just means you can go both ways around it. So if you're going from over here, which looks like some form of major road based on the central reservation, if you're going from here to over there, you can actually choose which way to go around the roundabout. You could go, just to show you right here, you go left, and then you could go left, and then you could go that way, and that way, and that way, and that way. Or if you wanted to, you could go right on the roundabout of the first entrance, so go that way around it, and then you could go left, and then left, and then left, and then take one more right. I think most people would probably pick the left option, even though the right one's shorter, but this means that people can go both ways around a roundabout, and it means you can do some silly stuff if you really want to, like go all the way around a roundabout to get to the left exit like that, and that is apparently the more efficient way to do these sorts of things, and that is so much harder to explain using non-Google Maps. I really do think it's a wonderful tool. I really have to say, it's a lot of fun personally, and yeah, you can look at entire countries this way. You can look at monuments that are famous. So I was in Las Vegas. Wow, you know, it sure is easier to see the Las Vegas Strip and understand the actual like scale and distance of it all when you see it from the north like this. This is Resorts World, the very far north of the Strip, because Circus Circus doesn't count, and I got picked, I walked all the way from downtown Vegas to Circus Circus once, and the Uber driver was like, what were you doing there? They were like concerned for my safety. It was a funny, anyway, it's not a funny thing, but you can see like, oh yeah, there is a much better understanding of like the distance between things. Caesar's Palace is over here. It's huge. It's one hotel, but it takes up that much space, whereas the Flamingo is over here, which we could probably see better from this angle, and it takes up only that much space. The Link only takes up like this much. There's by actually seeing things physically, which you can kind of do from 2D view, right? You can get some sense of it, but 3D gives you a scale of the height of buildings, which is important because when you go somewhere in person and you see the height of something, you might not realize if it's big or far away, and that seems dumb, but is this big or is it far away? Is this big or far away? It's both, but how big is it and how far away is it? You can't tell without knowing at least one of those things, and so I feel like that's really useful. You can also, though, use this for like real natural features. This, like, mountains look so bad from a 2D view, because what is this? Is this height? I don't know, but if we go from a little bit like this, you can see it's actually a puny mountain. That's not actually, it's very tall. I've climbed up it. It's very awful. Would not recommend doing so. But then you can do stuff like, oh yeah, so I've always wanted to see the Grand Canyon, but I don't really want to travel. So what we just do is we go all the way here to the Grand Canyon, and wow, now you can start to understand what it really looks like. Obviously in real life it's grander when it takes up your whole field of view, but you can see what actually makes this astounding is it's just several thousand feet or millions of, I don't know what it is in real meters, but it's a, you know, like it's a huge drop up and down into this canyon right here, and you can start to understand what the physical geography it looks like without having to, you know, like see a picture or whatever, and that's kind of wonderful to me. I think 3D view is wonderful, and to show you just one more thing, you know what, should I show you one more thing for everything? How about we just make the video one more thing until it has to inevitably end? You can also see pretty handily stuff like, I don't know, look over here for example, do you see how along the railway there's a bunch of skyscrapers? Incredibly interesting, right? If you look back to, because while I was looking around for Buster Sharp, while I was looking around at, what was it called, Buster Mantis? I got it confused with one of my freelance people on the main channel. But yeah, if you look right here, it's like, oh yeah, so this is Buster Mantis. While I was looking around, I was like, but what is this? This is the sort of thing you genuinely just cannot see from street level anywhere. I'm sure from all the way over here, you might just, no, you physically cannot see it. There is someone's house that is invisible, and even from 2D, you know, like from up above, you're still not really going to understand what it is. Like, you're like, oh, there is a building and there's like a courtyard here. From 3D, you can see, yeah, someone who lives right above Poundland. So they got the dream, they got a Poundland, they got a job center. I think this is an area of London that people aren't as hyped about going to, I think. But you got those things, and then look at that, you got a fun little. Also, wait, do these guys have doorways or is this a window? Like, is this the tiniest window in the world? You can start to look around at all sorts of fun property details, which might be good if you're looking at houses or if you're just curious. If you want to look around, like, look at these people. Is that like a skate park, or is that a, what is this? Is this a park, like a slide? I want to go in this. I hope it's not the primary school again. Yeah, that looks fun. I don't know what it is, but you can get a really good feel for stuff using this. It's incredible. I think it's a lot of fun. And now you know the 3D feature on Google Maps. It's really useful. And now you know my exact situation where I needed to find it. I'm gonna go to that £6 place on a random Thursday. Wait, I have to go not on a Thursday now. You know, actually, go to Buster Mantis on a random Thursday. You might find me there, unless it's bad the first time I go, in which case I'll probably never go again. Not worth traveling across London for, right? Anyway, with that said, ooh, let's look at the Royal Albert over here. Also, look at this, for example. You can see all sorts of things are, like, hidden back from the street, but they can't be hidden forever. Look at this. There's a whole building back here that just doesn't access any street. How does that exist? How does that function? Why is it so much more like... Okay, there we go. Just had to load in. What is that? Yeah, this is a whole separate building that has no access to the street. You would never know this thing exists. Does that make it a really safe apartment or a really not safe one? How do you access this thing? I'm guessing you walk in via this, and then maybe from the back of that. No, there's no alleyway there. You have to walk in via some other building. Maybe it's just attached to this front thing. Maybe this front house right here extended and then extended and then extended. But that's a front door over there, right? I don't know what's happening. You can look around the map and you can be endlessly fascinated, and that is what I recommend doing sometimes. Or don't. I'm not the boss of you, man. Anyway, I hope you'll enjoy this video. Hope you found it interesting. Look at this. You can get some tourist monuments in there too. If you did enjoy this video, then I don't know, you should probably stop procrastinating whatever you're doing too. Look at that. There's a whole circle here. Yeah, that's fun. If you enjoyed this video, get back to whatever you're trying to do. That is my contribution to your day. If you like dicking around on Google Maps, this is a whole channel apparently dedicated to that. And if you like the weather, then you'll be pleased to know it's sunny today. Thank you for watching. Second channel. Don't care. Goodbye.